Hey everybody, and welcome to a new property video with Glaser Group. Today with me is Rosario Martinez from a Paya-based law firm RM Lawyers. Rosario is a lawyer with who have been working already for 7 years. And today we invited her to talk about tourism rentals and everything that's been changing in the last months and in the coming years. So let's dive in. Rosario, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Martin, always to you for inviting me.
Good. So today we're going to talk and explain you more about tourism rentals, the law changes that we have, and everything that you need to keep in mind that is going to be very important to know. So let's dive in. I heard a lot about rule changes from the 3rd of April and now again from the 1st of July. Can you tell me a little bit more what has changed and what makes it very important to be up to date with information?
Yes, sure. After 3rd of April, there was a new law coming into force, and it's stating that you need to get the express authorization from the community of owners to actually rent your apartment. So meaning that every person that wants to rent their apartment needs to have an express authorization by themselves.
Okay, so say I'm living in a community with 40 apartments. Do I need to go to each and every owner with a note saying, hey, can you please sign that you allow me to rent, or does that work a little bit different?
Can work a little bit different because actually the law express that every owner who wants to rent an apartment need an express authorization. But in terms of working, this is not like an easy way to proceed. So the administrator of the community of owners are introducing the possibility to request the express authorization in a general meeting once a year for everybody. And then once an owner needs the express authorization in their name, they will just issue a document.
So then if it's been given in advance, you can just go to the community of owners and they will automatically give it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But does that also mean that, which I see happening a lot of properties are being advertised with, we have a tourism license. Does that automatically mean that if I buy a property that has tourism license, that I can transfer it into my name and start renting it out?
No. The fact that the property has already a license, well, you can transfer that license. There is another way to do through the website of the Junta de Andalucía. So then you prepare a communication, you produce a communication informing the Junta that the owner of the apartment has changed. So suppose that the license is the same, but you need to comply with the current laws and with the current requirements. So if that license was getting, I don't know, like 3 years ago, and you want to transfer now, you need to comply with the current law as per now. So again, you will need the express authorization of the community of owners after 3rd of April.
Wow. So even they say in an advertisement, you can rent it out as long as there hasn't been a meeting of the community of owners, there is no guarantee.
Exactly.
Big changes.
Yeah, big changes, yes.
And what happens, for example, which I see happening a lot, and I see a lot of real estate agents advertising new build properties, and wow, you can get an amazing return on investment and rent this out and increased value, etc. But how does that work? Because there isn't even a community of owners yet.
Okay, is this saying nowadays you cannot promise that or you cannot sell with that conditions because again, you need to get the express authorization. So you need to wait until the property is finished and then request the authorization from the community of owners. Okay. I can understand that for the last years, of course, nobody knew about these changes. But and many people I know, they was buying properties for investment. And if you are completing the purchase after 3rd of April, unfortunately, you need to wait to get the express authorization.
Yeah, so that makes it difficult to buy something off plan to keep going with the tourism rental.
Nowadays, yes, because we never know how the things are going to be in the future.
Yeah, and I even heard an agent saying, and I don't know if it's true, that the developer already stated in the documents that it can be rented out in the future. Is that legally binding? Is it even possible? Or is it just something that goes around?
Could be legally binding, in, let's say in the purchase agreement, as a part of the property description or as a part of the conditions. The developer states that the rentals would be allowed.
Okay.
I tell you why. when the developer finishes the building, he is the owner of the full building. He creates the community of owners and he creates the community rules, the developer. So if he is stating in the community rules that all the rentals are going to be allowed, it could be possible that he can put that in the purchase agreement.
And say he does that, and everybody gets the keys. You've got the first meeting of the community of owners, and in that meeting is decided we do not want tourism rentals. The people who have a valid license then can still rent it out, but the new people cannot. Or am I wrong in that understanding?
When the developer creates the community rules, there are the in-laws.
Yeah.
So if you want to change later on when you are the owner, all the owners need to agree to change that community rules.
Wow. That's good to know. And other, for example, because we know, for example, Malaga is a little bit different with rentals and they're very tight on it. They're not giving rental licenses almost in any neighborhood. Are there more areas on the coast that are affected with that it's more difficult, that we need to watch out with buying in a community of owners with the idea to rent out?
Yes, Fuengirola is one of them also, because now they are not granting any more license, or they are not allowing the rental license in the communities that doesn't have a separate entrance only for the people who are using the apartment for short term. So the tenants or the people, the guests that are using the apartment need to have a separate entrance for the main building.
Which is going to be very difficult if you're going to be living in a penthouse.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, that's the solution, to live in a penthouse or to buy an isolated
So for example,
house.
if you're looking in Fuengirola, you need to have actually something almost without a community of owners. You need to have your own separate house, or well, even with a community of owners, you can have a townhouse or something, but it has its own entrance.
Exactly.
And is it expected that that goes around to more areas, or is that going to stay around just in Fuengirola at this point?
We are expecting also in Torremolinos the same to happen.
Okay, and is there any idea on timeline on that?
By the end of the year, we are expecting something like that.
Okay, so if we buy something now in Torremolinos and we have the license in place, that rule change comes, it doesn't count for the people who already have the license.
Yes, I could say yes.
Yeah, good. Now let's go to a little bit more different things. Now we know a little bit the basics of rentals. Let's talk a little bit about the fiscal and the tax part of it, which you probably know, at least as a lawyer, the basics of it. Can you tell me a little bit about the requirement to pay on the rental income? So say I'm going to rent out my apartment. I'm going to make 10,000 euros in profit. How is that as an EU resident?
As a EU resident, you have to pay the 19% of the profit that you have, meaning that you can discount all the expenses related to the rental. But and this is important, related to the days rented.
Okay, so say I've rented for 200 days of the year, I've rented my apartment. I can use 200 out of the 365 days and discount, for example, also property tax, IBI, basura, community tax, everything. Everything is deductible.
Everything, even if you are paying a mortgage, you can deduct the interest, not the capital that you are paying back to the bank, but the interest you can deduct also. And also if you are buying new furniture or you are doing a refurbishment or something like that, you can deduct all the expenses. Yeah. But again, it's very important. Only according to the days rented.
Yeah. And does that make any change if that's short-term or long-term rental with this?
No, it's the same.
It's the same.
It's the same.
And can you tell me a little bit, because I know in Andalusia we have a 2-month minimum to call it a long-term rental. So everything under 2 months is always short-term. What are, for the rest, the main difference between a short-term rental and a long-term rental?
The main difference for the rentals are the use of the property. I mean, the intended use of the property. Meaning that there are like 3 types of rentals. One is the shorter rentals, which is more or less clearly identified, which is the use is for touristic purposes or for holidays, and it's less than 2 months.
Yeah.
There are another 2 which are like temporary rental and long-term rental. Temporary rental is let's say that you need to move into Marbella, I don't know, because you are have a labor contract for 3 years.
Yeah.
But your main residency is in Madrid, let's say. So you are staying in Marbella, but it's a temporary reason. You are not, it's not your main residence, so this is temporary. And long-term rental is when you are renting an apartment here because the intended use is for you to live here as your main residency.
Okay.
But the long-term rental can be 6 months or 3 years. Let's say that your intended use is to stay 6 months, but then you decide to move somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay.
And the temporary rental can be again also 6 months or 3 years.
But with the long-term rental, you've got different, well, how you say it, you've got
Rules or
different
regulations.
rules and regulations in place than when it's a temporary, even if the time frame is the same.
Yes. The long-term rentals are abide by another type of rules.
And if we then talk about different types of rental, that probably also comes with different types of licenses. Do you need a tourism license to rent out long-term, or at least for a fixed period of somebody who's going to move in permanent or semi-permanent? Do you need a license for that?
For temporary rentals or for long-term rentals, you don't need a license, only for short-term rentals.
And what happens, say for example, I want to rent out my property without a rental? What's my risk? Is that a big risk?
Without a rental?
Yeah, without a
license.
rental license, yeah. Say don't want to comply.
Yeah, and every time more there is a big risk because the Junta de Andalucía is using every time more people to check and to do inspections, and if you don't have the license, for sure, you have an inspection, they will cancel your license, or they will, not your license, they will cancel you from leasing the apartment in the websites where you are renting, and you can have a fine.
Okay. And is there any difference in that if it's going to be a private person renting it out or a company?
No, in terms of license on this, no.
No, that doesn't matter.
It's the same.
And now, one of the questions we had recently is, what if I rent out my apartment and the people who come in behave very bad? Is there a risk for me in getting fines or things like that? Or is the risk always with the person who is in the property?
It depends. At the end of the day, it's a risk about the person who is behaving bad, but there is not actually a fine that you can get. The community of owners doesn't have the capacity to put a fine. I know there are a few communities that they are trying to dig a little bit, or they are like increasing the community fee, or trying to put a kind of penalty on the person who are not using the apartment properly, or they are behaving in a wrong way. But actually they are not legally allowed to put a fine. The community of owners cannot impose a fine to you.
But what you just said is they can increase the community fee that you pay if you use it as a tourism rental.
Yes, they can. Actually, many of them are increasing maximum at 20%, the community fee, because all of them give for granted that the people who are staying only a few days there, they are not going to take care of the facilities of the community and the communal areas, and then it's like they
have more work, more costs,
Yeah.
and that's why they want to have it done.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually see it happening a lot indeed.
Yes, and I think every time more.
Yeah, I even see communities still voting against it, but those are communities where almost everybody is renting out and they just don't want to increase the cost. I think it's a little bit short-sighted, because in the end the community will run out of money and they will need to pay more anyway to cover the repairs and keep it clean, because the better the community is, the easier it is to rent out and the better the return on investment will be. Another question that we received from one of our clients is if there is a limit. So say I'm going to buy a property purely as a holiday rental unit, purely as an investment. Is there a limit, point one, on the number of properties I can buy, and number two, on the days I can rent it?
No, there is no limit at all.
No.
You can buy as much as properties as you can, and also there is no limit.
So we can rent it 365 days of the year. We can buy 100 apartments for the same client.
Well, you can buy 365 days as long as you are not doing more than 2 months every time, because then it will pass to another type of rental.
Yeah. So holiday rental, 300.
Holiday rentals, you can do 365.
If you have the license, you can do as much as you want. You can be fully occupied, and It doesn't matter if you have one property or 100.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good to know. Let's move on to the second page. What rights do tenants have in the new framework when you work with a tourism license? So say we have our properties on booking.com, Airbnb. Somebody comes for a week, rents it, decides, I love it here. I don't want to leave. Do they have any rights whatsoever?
Any rights to stay in the apartment?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, 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 no. As long as, well, they can extend the rental period. But,
Yeah,
but
if
they
that's
don't have any
possible.
right to stay there. It's
No.
like, I don't want to move. No, no, no.
No.
Then you become a squatter.
So the
No.
good thing is, for an owner renting it out, tourism rentals, the holiday rentals, is more risk-free than maybe the long-term rentals is.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And is that one of the problems? Because in Spain, a lot of things are happening at this point with tourism license, housing crisis that they say there is. That's why one of the a lot of changes have been made to the tourism license. But is it not one of the big problems that in a long-term rental contract, in a permanent rental contract, people have too much rights?
Yeah, actually, I think this is the bigger problem for the long-term rentals, and that's why I think the shorter rentals are increasing a lot.
Yeah.
I don't say with this that you cannot have a tenant for a weekend or for a week as a touristic rent, and he cannot decide to stay in the apartment. You know, he has not the right, but of course he can do.
Yeah.
He can say, okay, what you say, or if I am living here and I rent the apartment next to mine because it's bigger than mine, and I stay. But of course, always be easier to vacate him than a long-term rental. Okay. But with a long-term rental, that's the main thing. They have too much right, and it's becoming kind of very difficult to evict them.
And does that matter, for example, say, as you know, I'm not Spanish. I'm a Dutchman from, the south of the Netherlands. I'm living here now 8 years. Do I have, as a non-Spanish, have different rights or rules than if a Spanish person would buy the same investment property? Do I need to do different things to obtain a tourism license, or is that equal for everybody?
No, in terms of license, it's the same. For Spanish people, European people, non-European people, for everybody it's the same.
The only difference is the taxes they need to pay as non-European.
Yeah, the taxes, by the way, I don't know if I forgot to mention before, it is for a non-European resident, the tax to pay is 24%, and you cannot discount any expense.
That's very, wow. So there is a big difference in there. Looking ahead on the local, little bit nuances in the area, are there any additional regulatory changes expected in the coming months in the area?
Well, in the coming months, no, we are not expecting any change in the regulations.
So at this point, we discussed a little bit that Torremolinos has plans to maybe change some of the regulations at the end of the year. It's a rumor that's going around. Are there any areas, other areas on the Costa del Sol that you hear the same? Are there other areas that are thinking of changing the rules in the next months, year regarding the tourism rental license, or is it still safe to pat on it and keep investing in it?
Yeah, I think so. We are not expecting any new regulations coming into force in the area, at least not, of course, in the coming months. We know about Fuengirola, Torremolinos, and Malaga because, as you know, they are very small places that they don't have more place to build, more plot to build.
Yeah, they're full.
Yeah, so that's why they need to kind of manage what they have already. So what they want to limit a little bit or kind of prohibit the rentals, because the people who actually born in that location, or the people who really needs a property for them to live day by day, they are seen impossible to buy a property.
Yeah.
But it's not the same in Mijas. Mijas is very big, Marbella is also very big. Estepona, they have a lot of still plots and a lot of land. So for the time being, they are not expecting to do anything.
And if I can ask you one last, maybe second to last question, what advice would you give property owners or people who want to become a property owner and who are considering entering the market of tourism rental? What is the single best advice you can give those people?
well, to hire a good lawyer, for them to have the proper information about all the legal aspect and all the current regulations about that.
Yeah.
But if you ask me for a more precise advice, I would always suggest you to buy an isolated house.
Yeah.
Don't deal with community of owners because...
less risk.
Yes, much more less risk.
Hey, and where I want to finish it off always with the question, do you think we've missed something or something that you think is very important still for the viewers to know that we haven't discussed yet so far today?
Well, no, not actually. I think we discussed already. For me, it's important about what we talked before about the rental license. There is a big problem here with the fact that the property has already a license.
Yeah.
For me to be clear, the license itself, it's something that you produce yourself in the website. I mean, this is like, it's as one declaration that I can go, I fill a document, I click that I comply with all the rules, and then I directly download the license itself.
So the fact that they say it has a license and they have a license number doesn't actually mean it is a valid and legally binding license.
I need to fight many times with the opposite parties because we have already a license. I'm sorry, for me, that is nothing.
Yeah.
For me, it's like you don't have it. Actually, when they ask me, can we transfer the license, I prefer not to transfer the license. You cancel your license and I will get a new one. Because at the end of the day, I need to comply with the same requirements now. So I have to be sure that the property comply with the requirements. And also when you transfer the license, you don't have the license itself. I don't know if I'm explaining. When I create the license for the first time, I download my license with the boot number and all the details.
Yeah.
But if I am transferring it, I only have a document
number
stating that I did a change.
A transfer.
A transfer, but I don't have
the
actually
original license.
the license in my name already.
Okay.
And it can create problems in the future for that.
So it's always best in a case like that to cancel the original license and request a new one.
Yeah.
So you're sure that it's a legally good license and everything is documented and correct.
From 1st of July, you need to request a document from the land register for the shorter rentals. If I have the previous license transferred into my name, well, I have I have the proof that I request the license, but with this, the land register is not going to give me the number.
Thank you very much, and we'll see
Thanks
you soon.
to you, always, for inviting me.